Hello, and today we're playing By Your Hands. Hello, and today we'll be playing By Your Hands. We're going to start day 3 for Kamil. So I created a save file for the new update, and I always skipped a few things that we always saw earlier in the game with day 3 for Brendan, in which he taught about the history and of the prey and predators and all that. So I'm just gonna skip those parts and jump to where we meet the football coach. Her class went pretty much the same way. The professor made an announcement about the security guards and cameras, and informed us about Tucker's funeral, then let us off easy with some review work. Not that he looked too pleased about it. Professor Payton, Coach Payton was just coach, as he insisted on being called, grumbled to himself all throughout class, a stubborn expression on his face. Didn't really help with concentrating on our work, but it did do wonders keeping all of us students quiet. And it wasn't like anyone could blame him for his foul mood considering the circumstances. You see, I hadn't put two and two together before, since I'd only seen him in person the one time before, but as it turned out, he was a very same coach that Liam and the rest of the football team had mentioned. Part of me wanted to wait until lunch approached him, half to see if his mood would improve, so I'd have Kamil around to offer support, morale, and otherwise. But he was right there. I was right there. After class ended, the rest of the students were quick to leave. The mass building wasn't too far away, so I have plenty of time. And as Dr. Abraham always liked to say, an opportunity on seeds is an opportunity wasted. Coach, sir? What is it? Intimidating as it was to be the only one in the room with the irate bear, I swallowed down my anxiety and met his gaze head on, keeping my shoulders and jaw loose, my arms at rest at my sides. I wanted to talk for just a second, if you've got time, about joining the football team. That got his attention. His eyes became less glaring, more considering, as he looked me up and down a few times. I tried not to be too obvious about returning the flavor. Yeah, you look to be in pretty good shape. Should have a spot for you on junior varsity, yeah? If you got an open spot for it in your class schedule. Well, that actually what I wanted to really talk about. Is there any way for me to join the main team with Kamil? Kamil, huh? You know him? Yeah. I also know Liam and Wyatt, and I knew Tucker before he went from the polar bear. Anyway, I was talking with him yesterday, and since the team has an open spot, I was wondering if I could, join up. Sorry, kid, but it doesn't work that way. Can't just bring in a newbie out of nowhere. There's a process to this, Pretty much what Liam had said the day before. But I put back up at that. The bear was scrubbing a hand through his hair for only half of a snarl on his face, his gaze pointed off somewhere in the distance, taking in a deep breath which strained the fabric of his shirt of his chest. I jerked my eyes upward to meet his own when he finally looked back over at me. Look, you caught me in a tight spot, so here's what we'll do. What's the schedule look like in the afternoon? Biology at 1 o'clock with the labs on Tuesdays and Thursdays, then jazz band at 2. At least you know that. Practices start at 2:30, so unless you could be in two places at once, you'll need to change your schedule if you want to join the team. I know. Kamil and I were actually talking about that yesterday, gonna head over to the administration building and do just that during lunch. Well, then it's a good thing you talked to me now. I can shoot an email over so the counselor will have it when you get there. You better talk to Jenkins when you get a chance to, so he'll know what's going on. Professor Jenkins, the band director. Will do. You're a first year, so if you're gonna be joining any team, it's gonna be junior varsity regardless. This afternoon, after you got your schedule all squared away, we'll get you out on the practice field and see what you can do. That sound like a plan? Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah, don't thank me just yet. If you don't want to just stay on JV this year, you'll have to show me something really impressive. Got it? It's probably a brief bit of fantasizing about impressing the older male. I knew he didn't mean it that way. But, got it. Good. Now, get out of here. Got another class in 5 minutes. You probably don't want to be late for yours. Right. Thanks again, Coach. He sent me off with one last grunt and a wave of his hand. Well, that was one thing out of the way. I walked off the calculus, managing to slip in and grab a seat at the back just as the professor got things started. Sat through the same routine, announcements, and then review work for the third time. Finally, lunchtime rolled around. Kamil was there to meet me as I walked out of the classroom looking a little distracted. Had to call out to the carcadon to grab his attention. Salam. Sorry, just thinking about stuff. How's it going? Pretty good so far, you? Pretty much the same. Ready to head over and talk to the coach when you are? We can see the counselor after to get your schedule switched over. Then grab some lunch from the student center if you should have plenty of time, but I kinda like to get it over or done with as soon as possible. Make sure you're all set for this afternoon and all. Well then, about talking with Coach, he looked a bit surprised when I told him I had already taken care of that part, but was quick to put on a smile and gave me a pat on the back. Look at you, taking the initiative. I mean, I just went and took the opportunity since it presented itself. Don't want to have to depend on you for everything, right? I guess not. Little West has gotta grow up sometime, right? He made a subtle sniffling and sighing. I rolled my eyes and aimed a loose, lazy punch at his midsection and dodged with a laugh. Seriously, man, it's good you're stepping up and all, but I am here to help if you need it. I know. Thanks, man. We could still go see the council together. It'd probably be a lot more complicated than just asking Coach to let me join the team. I don't want to get anything messed up right when it's about to happen. Sure. And afterwards, since we don't have to go running back and forth across the campus, maybe we could chill out for a bit together. Maybe see if Connor's around. Yeah. Not gonna get anywhere just sitting around and talking about it, though, right? Come on. Lead the way. The administration building was all the way over by the campus's main gate. It made sense that entrance led right out onto one of the main thoroughfares running through the city after all. Where else would be better for the face of Mammoth University? With that in mind, and as we walked through the sliding glass door into the building's lobby, I was struck by a wave of familiarity. The solid metal door plastic and personal decor all around, motivational posters and advertisements for this or that program rather than vague impressions of landscapes. The long counter ahead and the line of chairs along the wall to my right. The sterile odor of wood polish and floor cleaner. It was just like the admin building back at the lab. You alright? I cleared my throat and tried not to lean too much against the steadying hand at my shoulder. Yeah, I'm fine, just nerves, I guess. My eyes remained on me for another moment, but then the receptionist cleared her throat and asked how she could help us. Kamil stepped up and told her about me needing to see the counselor to get my schedule changed and chimed in to explain about joining the football team. It didn't take us too long to be brought back to the counselor's office for me to make my. Counselor had indeed received Coach's email and was able to get things switched over relatively easily. After a few probing questions to make sure this was what I wanted, it was in that I thought this change through. She got into the system to put me in the football program. Junior varsity, since I was a first year, just as Coach had said. Kamil bumped my shoulder with an encouraging smile. Hopefully, I get a chance to prove myself that afternoon. As we were leaving, the counselor mentioned getting in contact with Professor Jenkins to tell him about the change as well. I reassured her that I would. I'd have the chance to do that in the afternoon, and that was that. Alright, now it's official. You want to head over to the student center and... hey. The bunny glanced up from her phone, but made no move to sit up from her slumped position in one of the chairs out in the lobby. She must have come in while Kamil and I were talking with the counselor. Hey. Flat, toneless, spoken with expression like she was smelling something, watching. How are you doing today? Fine. Good. That's good. He gestured back to the way we came, past the front desk and down the corridor towards the counselor's office. She just continued to give the crocodile a stone-faced stare. I sifted from foot to foot, the tension sparkling between the two herbivores prickled across my nape and tightened my jaw. Hadn't been expecting to run into the bunny girl from Tucker's party again. Camille's ears were flicking in agitation, his mouth open like he wanted to say something, then snapped shut. We both flinched a bit when his lashing tail bedded against the back of my leg. Finally, I cleared my throat and spoke up. I flinched again when that flat stare was turned toward me. Part of me was already regretting speaking up. I had to do something to break the standoff. What Tucker did was silly, and I'm sorry that, it happened. She still had her hackles up, but her shoulders were starting to look a little less stiff. I kept my eyes a spot just to the left of her head, watching her expression without making direct eye contact. The bunny opened her mouth, closed it, glanced over at Kamil, then looked away. You're not the only one who should be apologizing. But thanks, I guess. Yeah. Tucker's dead, so... It couldn't have happened to a nicer fucking person. I dropped my gaze to the floor at that. Considering what happened, I couldn't blame her, but Kamil was still standing next to me, his head down and his own ears flicking in agitation. The silence was starting to stagnate again. I blurted out the first thing that came to mind, if only to break it. Do you, know it, Bailey? The bunny looked over, tucked her phone into her purse, and stood up. Well, it was nice, but I gotta go. Yeah, we should, get going too. Right, Kamil? Yeah, later, Bailey. She made her way to the front desk, either not hearing Kamil or refusing to acknowledge him. Together, the crocodile and I left the administration office. We walked side by side in silence for a short while, but I just couldn't stop myself from asking the question on the tip of my tongue. So, do you know that girl? It took Kamil a few seconds to answer, shrugging while keeping his gaze ahead. I don't really know her, but I know some of the people she hangs out with. So, yeah. Huh? So, lunch? He pulled out his phone to check the time. We still got a good half hour or so for it. A pretty blatant attempt to change the subject, but it wasn't like I had any room to talk. Sure. Lead the way, man. Deep breath in, look up at the crocodile with a slightly strained smile. Deep breath out, letting the conversation wander away from what had just happened. letting the tension between us relax and ignoring the prickle that remained in the back of my mind. Kamil and I grabbed lunch at the restaurant in the student center, the crocodile going with a large salad with where I grabbed a container of popcorn chicken. While he looked around for a table for the two of us, I hesitated and then stuffed my receipt into my pocket. While settling into my seat, I looked around as well. Didn't see any sign of either Liam or Wyatt around anywhere. No one else from the football team either. Nice to hang out a bit more before my first practice that afternoon, but oh well. I still hadn't seen any sign of Connor that day either when I asked Kamil if he had the crocodile sweat and mumbled through the mouthful he'd been chewing on. Guess I just have to text the rooster myself to check in on him later. We passed the time with some small talk between bites, how Kamil was doing in his own classes, what we thought of this or that professor, my progress on the whole making other friends thing. That last point was still a bit of a sore spot, but at least I had plenty of opportunities for getting to know the rest of his teammates better. After finishing up and tossing our trash, the crocodile and I parted ways, already looking forward to seeing each other again that afternoon. Anticipation, and maybe just a smidge of anxiety, kept me buoyed all through my biology class, then stepping into the jazz band room a few minutes early to talk with Professor Jenkins. He was really amicable about it. Probably helped that he'd been kept in the loop by both coach and the counselor, he admitted when I brought it up. But yeah, he understood. I was a young male, still figuring things out. Of course, I should try different things. There wasn't any saving to change my mind. Since our instruments and music binders were kept in the practice room, there wasn't really anything I needed to do. Sure, they'd be down a trumpet player, but they could make it work. And so that was that. After wishing Professor Jenkins a good day, I left. Waved to some of the other members of the jazz band as I passed by, but again, I guess they didn't see me. Oh well. Still, had about 20 minutes before football practice would start, but I made my way over towards the practice field regardless. May as well make as good a first impression with coaches as possible, and what better way than being punctual. Part of me expected to see Wyatt out there slamming into one of those weighted foam sled things again, but the wolf was still nowhere to be seen. Instead, Kadir and Kyle were out there setting out equipment, the weighted sleds, orange cones, and a large basket full of footballs under the coach's direction. Hey, oh, Rex, hey, how's it going? Goes alright? Good. Is there anything I can help you guys with? The Komodo dragon grunted while setting a big, bright orange sloshing water cooler down on the bleachers nearby. We got it. Thanks, though. Eager to start, huh? Good. But we still got a few things to hash out before I let you out into the field. Come with me. He just followed. Off the field across the road. Into the athletic complex, a massive brick wall, brightly lit building. Down one hallway, then another, finally into what I assumed was the polar bear's office. Alright, first things first, your squad number. As luck will have it, there's still a few available for the different positions, so you'll have your pick. Only snag is figuring out which position you'll be in, whether in junior, varsity, or otherwise. If this was a month or two ago, I'd be putting you through a tryout to see what would be the best fit for you. As it stands though, we're going to have to do that during practice today. I won't take you through a couple different groups, see where your strengths lie, and figure out which team position makes the best sense for you. After that, we'll get you your number. Sounds good? Sounds good to me. Good. Next up, got a couple forms of waivers for you to look over and sign. Oh joy, I probably pulled a face without realizing it, but Coach snorted and laughed. I know, but the athletic department's gotta keep its ass nice and covered. Full disclosure, accidents can happen and you can get hurt real bad. I gotta do my best as a coach to make sure that doesn't happen, but it's still a risk. So if you got any doubts about your physical ability or any worries about your own well-being, now's the time to back out. Like I do that right at the last minute when Kamil was counting on me. Understand the risk, sir. Alright, you get these signed in, and I'll start getting your equipment together. He grabbed a stack of papers off the desk, handed him, and that pen over to me, and while he dug through another door into a side room, some kind of storage closet, or so it appeared, to look them over. Assumption of risk, waiver of liability, indemnity agreement. I got the gist. Basically, I knew what I was getting into and wouldn't try suing the school if I got hurt. I was also giving the athletic department permission to use my pitching promotions for games or college programs, would take care of any equipment that I needed until it was returned. Reasonable. At the sign, dating initially and setting the forms back onto Coach's desk, I looked up and through the still open side door. All done. Good. In that case, he returned carrying a bundle of plastic plating, padding, and elastic straps. Got some shoulder and thigh pads for you right here. Helmet too. Also got a spare practice jersey and some pants you can borrow for this first week, along with some cleats that should fit you. But we'll need to order the ones you'll be using the rest of the year. I nodded and accepted that bundle from him, along with the jersey, pants, and spiky bottom shoes he grabbed from the closet as well. It took some doing, but I also managed to grab the additional form he offered me. Fill that out and get it to me tomorrow. Yes, sir. Last but definitely not least, you'll need a protective cup to keep your most important bit safe. Another trip to the closet, returning with a mid-sized tub. The polar bear hesitated, grimaced by glancing my way, then sighed. There's no non-awkward way to ask this, and reptile, but I'd rather not assume. So, any or outie? Any, sir. I nod, curt and perfunctory. Then he pulled out another hand-sized plate of molded plastic and handed it over. Guess you don't need instructions on how to get that situated. I ignored the bloom of heat across my snout in favor of shaking my head. I can figure it out. Speaking of, your locker. Coach turned back to his desk, rifling around for his pen and a notepad. While he was busy jotting something down, I took the chance to banish the thought of the bulky older male instructing me on how to get my protective cup situated. Didn't want to get too distracted right then, or be too obvious about at least one reason I was looking forward to joining the team. Here, your locker and combination. It's right, left, right, then pull the handle. Alright, got it. A glance at the clock up on the wall, and then the polar bear grunted. Almost time, so get yourself to the locker room and get changed. It's the door to the right and at the end of the hall. When you're done, head back out to the field with everyone else. Yes, sir. Oh, and one last thing. Cut these sir stuff. Just call me Coach, will you? Oh, right. Yes, sir. Coach. With a snort, a roll of his eyes, and a wave of his hand, Coach sent me away. With my armful of equipment, order form, and locker details in hand, I made my way out to find the football locker room. To my right, at the end of the hall, I didn't want to assume, but it was probably through that door with the locker room sign on the wall next to it. Kamil standing there as well, already dressed in his practice outfit, was a pretty big hint too. Hey, there you are. Here I am. Coach wanted to get me my equipment and everything, so. Well then, you should get changed into it, huh? Come on. He gestured and I followed, the two of us heading through the door into the locker room together. To be honest, I don't know what I was expecting. Sure, I might have seen a few videos that took place in a locker room, but actually being in one was a whole different experience. I could feel the slight humid stuffiness hanging in the air, the natural product of so many bodies being packed into one enclosed space at the same time. Smell all the different males who have been and were in there, again natural and unexpected. See the stranglers among the team, Gary and Reggie, but also some guys that hadn't met just yet, weirdly enough, but who were still in the middle of changing. Which locker room you get assigned? Which locker did you get assigned? Huh? Oh, I glanced at a scrap of paper tucked between my fore and middle fingers. 23. Here I thought we'd be locker buddies. Let's see, 23 is over here. Coach told you how to open it, right? Yeah. Right, left, right. Pull the handle. A sharp squeak of protest from his hinges, the locker room opened. Kamil nodded his approval, gave me a pat on the back. Okay, I'll leave you to it then. Real quick though. Here, stay right there. I blinked, but there's the crocodile ass only setting the bundle in my arms down on the bench. Meanwhile, he darted away to grab his bag out of his own locker, then returned while reaching into it. Give his back towards everyone else, keeping his voice low. Figured you probably need this. So I didn't tell you about it yesterday when we were talking about getting you on a team. Kinda just remember after lunch. So I ran to one of the stores near the campus and, yeah. He puts a plastic wrapped package into my hands, a set of white banded athletic supporter jock straps. Yeah, that might help. We also didn't talk about stuff for souring, did we? Another bloom of heat across my snout when I realized that I hadn't even thought of that. It's fine, I got a spare towel and washcloth you can borrow. And after practice I can let you borrow some body wash too, for today at least. Thanks, man. Hey, don't mention it. He glanced away towards Reggie and Gary, the pair chattering away while pulling their jerseys on. Seriously, don't. Alright. Another pat. Alright, see you on the field, man. He turned away to head out of the locker room, and I started pulling my clothes off to change. I thought it would be more awkward with the other males around as well, but figuring out the athletic supporter and the placement for the pads kept me occupied enough to stop my mind and my eyes from wandering. At least I was indeed able to figure out getting the protective cup situated and some experimentation. Then I pulled on the jersey, pants, and cleats coach had given me, ignoring the imperfect fit, and followed the other stragglers out of the locker room, out of the athletic complex, across the field and back onto the practice field. Alright, line up and quiet down. Now, you are all let off the hook for practice yesterday considering the circumstances, but that just means I'm gonna expect twice the work today to make up for it. Especially from the varsity squad. Just cause you're down member for now doesn't mean you get to slack off. As for you JVs, I'm gonna be keeping my eyes on you boys, in particular today and for the rest of the week. The varsity halfback spot gonna need filling before we start the season, so this will be your chance to show what you can do. Who knows, one of you might just find yourself moved up to the big leagues. For now though, you've got 10 minutes to warm up before we start, and the new captain's gonna be helping me supervise all you. Liam? That was Liam? The lion sauntered forward to face the group, high head and shoulders back. Then, after brushing a hand through his mane, he addressed us in a loud, clear voice. Alright, I want you all split into two groups. First group's dividing up into pairs for passing and catching. Second group to the 50-yard line for sprints. JVs, make sure to keep up. You heard what Coach said. We'll switch in 5. I want everyone back here for team stretch. Move it. The other males began to disperse. I looked around trying to find where Kamil was headed, but no luck. By the time I caught sight of him, he'd already paired up with Wyatt and moved off to one side of the field. Only thing I could do was hustle with the remainder to the middle of the field for sprints, lining up next to one another, hunting down, waiting for a signal, first from Coach, then from Leon, to dash to the end of the field before turning around and running back, again. Pretty simple, but this was just supposed to be a warm-up, again. Put my legs and arms while running from one end of the field to the other. It's not a race, Rex. I stomached having to hop a bit to catch myself, looked from the line to the other team members who were just catching up now that I had stopped. I hadn't even noticed pulling ahead so much, nor how winded some of the other junior varsity players looked already. With a sheepish grunt, I lifted a hand to signal my acknowledgement to Leon, then started up my sprints again, a little easier on the pace this time. Then Coach blew his whistle and our group splits off with the ones practicing passing and catching. While looking around for a partner, I felt a heavy hand clap me on the shoulder. Wesley. The partner had a wide grin on his face as he tossed a football up and down his free hand. Looking a little lost there. You want to do some throws with me? Oh sure, let's I gestured and the other male led the way off to an open space on the field there. Like the others in our group, we started tossing the ball back and forth. It was all safe. It took a few tries to get it going where I wanted it to go. Catching was a lot more manageable for me. However, my eyes were drawn to the movement of it through the air, and my arms darted up to stats and almost of their own accord. Even with the pain of throwing the football wide every so often, forcing me to stay on my toes, the time passed quickly and easily. Finally, Coach blew his whistle again. As Leon had commanded, everyone could reconvene on the side of the field, getting lined up and spaced out, stretching as the line directed. Our limbs, our torsos, every joint and muscle, getting loose and limber for the coming practice. I figured out pretty quickly why that was necessary. Yeah. Drink it slow. Don't gulp it. That'll just make you feel worse. I did my best to follow the crocodile's advice, swallowing down mouthful after slow, lingering mouthful of cool water from the plastic cup of my grip. We were all taking a 10-minute break after about an hour of drill. After drill, I was perched on one of the bleachers with Kamil. The two of us recovering from our exertion together while sharing one another's company. How are you feeling? I mean, he didn't seem that good just now. Well, I would say pretty good, actually. I grunted, stretching one leg and then the other, feeling the heat of sort of settling into them, the satisfaction of working my muscles to their fullest potential. I breathed in deep, ignoring the odor of my own sweat and maleness, focusing on this expanding and contracting in my lungs. I took another drink of water, letting it travel down my parched gullet to wash away the fatigue. Feels great being able to do this outside, you know? A lot more fun with others too. Yeah, just don't push yourself too much, alright? Yes. Lion started up to the both of us. He nodded to Kamil, then he looked over at me. The usual look of cool detached consideration back on his face. I gave him a nod of my own, ignoring the tension gathered between my shoulder blades. As eager as you are to prove yourself, it wouldn't do to go overboard. Right. I'll keep that in mind. Good. It only gets more intense from here, especially for us on the varsity squad. So if you end up staying in junior varsity, well, there's no shame in mediocrity. That knot in the middle of my back tightened. We'll see what Coach says, right? Indeed we will. With that, he turned to start away, tail flicking behind him. What's with him today? I don't know. He's been like that ever since he went out this morning. Was that when he... I gestured to my scalp. Yeah. Said he needed to take saying he need to look presentable for his first day as team captain. That's probably all it is, getting into the new role and all. He'll chill back out when things get back to normal. If you say so. It was at that moment Close blew his whistle, his bellowing voice calling us to line up on the field once more. Kamil grunted, stood, and stepped down onto the ground while stretching. Don't let him get you, man. The point is, you're doing great for your first day. Keep up the good work, alright? I gulped down the last of my water, stood up as well, feeling the last few pangs of exertion in my legs ease themselves away, and turned to toss my cup in the nearby trash bin. You too. With a tiny chuckle, I reached over and gave Kamil. Even as I'd been recovering from the drills Coach had put us through, I had seen the way Kamil had hunched his shoulders, the anxious flicking of his ears and tail. The crocodile had looked like he could use some encouragement too. The way things are going, I'll be on the varsity squad in no time. You can count on me, man. That's my line. As he patted my back in return, the two of us made our way over to join the rest of the team. With everyone refreshed, Coach began drilling the varsity squad on various days and strategies for the season, lining up the offense and defense teams and having them face off against another to practice for the real deal. One side, the one with Kamil and everyone else I already knew on it, was indeed short a player, so every time they practiced a different play, Coach would call in someone from the JV team as a substitute. Working with them to get the ball down the field, running with it whenever the line would throw it their way. Working with Reggie to block any of the defensive team from tackling the quarterback or getting their hands on the ball. Needed to be strong and agile to be successful. Not to knock any of the other junior varsity members too much, but I could find or see what Kyle and Di had meant the day before. Either they couldn't quite keep up with the varsity members, or they get balled right over by the defense team. And not to toot my own horn too much, but I like to think I did a good job. Reggie and I made a pretty good team, the Panthers both and my agility, working together to defend Leon for the defense team's assault. Despite what the Lions had said earlier, he and I were able to get the ball to the end zone together. He passed and I caught. I ran, dodged, and tossed. He cut and turned. So much for mediocrity. With another blow of Coach's whistle, everyone came back together and then split up once more. Kamil, Di, Gary, Kyle, Saul, and Wyatt moved down the field to continue practicing with most of the defense team under Coach's supervision. Meanwhile, Liam led me, Reggie, Kadir, Yusuf, the junior varsity members, and whoever was left from defense over to one of the sidelines. Alright, JVs, Coach wants me to see how you do with some sideline running. He held up the football in his hand for us to see. You run the ball down to the end zone, and defense will do their damnedest to knock you out of bounds or strip it from you. It goes without saying, of course, but don't let them. If you do well enough, that might just earn you some points towards getting the varsity halfback position. I put up at that, and the Lion noticed. He tossed the ball my way. Rex, you up first. Right. Tension in my jaw as the others watched me move to where Leon pointed, near one of the yard lines, 30, on the very edge of the playing field, facing down towards the end zone. Tension tightening my grip around the ball as I watched the defense players get into position, 3 facing the outer edge of the field, holding healthy-looking seals of padded foam, and 2 more readying themselves on the other side. Tension in my limbs and back as I prepared to start running at the Lion signal. A deep breath in, a gusty sigh out. Go! Muscles and legs driving me forward, head and shoulders hunched, tail straight behind me. Movement left, impact, padded foam knocking against my shoulder. Movement right, wide swipe of reaching claws, a grab for the ball in my arms. Powered through, kept tight, didn't bite, snap, growl at not team. Forward through, second impact, forward passing and a swipe. Forward while knocking back against padded foam hitting my side. End zone, get the end zone. Movement ahead, blocked. Lamb darting out in front of me. Dudded, down lower, kicked off on my right side. Dodged to the left, cut it around and behind the lion. Finally reached the end zone. I took a moment to catch my breath and then turned to look back behind me. Leon was on the sideline, looking at little Ruffles, his eyes boring into me as his tail flipped behind him. Everyone else was looking from me to the lion and back again. Down the field I saw Coach looking over as well. Had he been watching? As Rex just demonstrated, it's important to be aware of your surroundings out on the field. Plans can change at any moment, and the opposing team might do something you aren't anticipating. You need to stay on your toes and be ready for anything. Was that what that had been about? With another flick of his tail, the lion moved back to the place he'd been standing before I took my turn. The fence back of your place is you, Aaron, right? He pointed at one of the nearby junior varsity members. You're up. Let's see how good your sideline game is. After the rest of the JVs got their turn, Coach let us off with one more water break, then a few more drills, then some time cooling down. Stretching our aching limbs and joints, recovering from the exertion, catching our breaths before he sent the team off to the showers. When I moved to join them, though, he called out for me to hang back, gestured for me to walk with him, led me across the road into the athletic complex and back into his office. Did a good job out there, kid. Good enough to get onto the main squad. The polar bear let out a short bark of laughter at that. Keeping your eyes on the prize, huh? Alright, fine. Halfback spot's all yours. Better than trying to whip one of the other JVs into shape. He waffled through a desk drawer, pulling out another sheet of paper and setting it down before me. On it were columns of numbers from 1 to 99, a good portion of them crossed out. So since you're here, we may as well get your squad number sorted. Running backs get to claim any of these numbers here. A gesture at the left-hand side of the seat, 1 to 50, or the 80s. He pried his fingers at that set of numbers. A part of his finger at that set of numbers. Go and pick any of those that aren't taken already. The choice was easy. My eyes had been following his hand and had stayed locked onto one number in particular as soon as they fell on it. Round and simple, both literally and figuratively. I tapped the paper and he glanced at my claw tip. 88? All right then. Coach made a note of that, then tucked the page away once more. One last thing before I let you go. Being part of the main squad carries a lot more responsibility than junior varsity. Make sure you're here for every practice and every game. And I recommend starting up a workout program on your own. In addition to training, we do have a standard we need to uphold. Got it, Coach. Could probably talk with Kamil about that too. Good. For now, go hit the South Kid. No offense, but you weak. I blinked, ducked my head, took a few furtive sniffs of myself. Sure, the smell of my sweat was pretty strong after running around outside all afternoon. And sure some of my pheromones had started leaking into the mix. Whether it was from the exertion or excitement from getting on to the varsity squad, from spending time with Kamil and the rest of the team, from being alone with the burly older male. But it wasn't that bad, wasn't it? Sorry, Coach. A shrug and a wave of the polar bear's hand. Don't worry about it. Happens to the best of us. Nothing a sour can't fix. So go on, get. With one last wave of my I got. Back down the hallway and on into the locker room, ready to strip out my practice uniform and shower off. Stopping dead in my tracks at the sight that awaited me. So many naked or half-naked males all around, talking with one another or toweling down there Still their bodies are in the middle of pulling on shirts or pants, wondering. The defense team, their large burly bodies on full display. The JV is not as built or defined, and a little sire about showing off, but still a really nice view. Further in, through a tiled opening in the wall, routing out human-steamed glimpses of the team members who are still in the middle of showering. Better than any fantasy I ever had or video I've ever seen, because I was right there in the middle of it. I gotta duck my head this time to keep my eyes pointed at the tile floor while darting over to my locker, hoping all the while no one would notice how excited I was to be there. Deep breaths, Rex. Deep, calming breaths. Just focus on showering and chasing. Yo, there you are. Just as I was pulling my shoulder pads off, I received a hearty clap on the back from a clawed hand. I glanced over, out of reflex, and got an eyeful of bare blue scales before dropping my gaze downward once more. Hi, hey, how's it going? Going good, man. And you? What's up with Coach holding you back earlier? Well, apparently I impressed him well enough during practice to get the halfback spot on the varsity squad. Another pat on the back from the older male, sitting there serves a heat across my snout and a pulse right down to my groin. No shit. Well, congrats, man. Thanks. I hesitated for just a moment before pulling down my jockstrap. I and the other guys didn't seem to be making a big deal out of walking around naked. So off everything as he did so. In the end, I grunted and dropped my jock to the floor, turning strategically away just in case. One of the nearby lockers clanked and squeaked open. I heard the rustling of clothing being pulled out. I waited for just one more moment before changing. Another look dies away. Didn't want to be too obvious about it, however, so after that quick peek I began to rifle through my locker as well. I grabbed the towel and washcloth Kamil had lent me earlier, and that was when I remembered I was supposed to borrow some body wash from him as well. Di, you haven't seen Kamil around anywhere, have you? The dragon let out a chuckle, looking over at me while pulling his shirt on. Right behind you. I jerked up right, one hand darting down to cover my quads out, a reflex and glance over. And there was the crocodile, an awkward half smile on his face and one hand on his hip. Oh hey, sorry man. I was kinda, He must have mistaken my stammering for embarrassment. Kamil let out a chuckle of his own. Locker room jitters? Yeah, I suppose you could call it that. I nodded, keeping my jaw clenched and my eyes firmly above the other male's waist. Don't worry, you'll get used to it. I promise you don't have anything that the rest of us haven't seen before loads of times. Anyway, you need some of this, right? He held out a plastic pump bottle, offering it to me. 3-in-1 body wash for fur, scales, and feathers. Yeah, thanks, man. No problem. He handed it over, sifted from foot to foot, glanced over towards his own locker. You can just keep that until tomorrow. Think I gotta head out myself. I wanted to visit downtown for a bit. Oh. You want me to come with? Kamil shrugged. If you want to, but I do kind of want to get going, so yeah, give me just a few minutes, I'll be quick. Alright. I gave Kamil a nod and waited in Di's direction as I stepped away. Then with everything I needed to get myself cleaned up in hand, I finally ventured into the shower room. Seeing the rest of the team on fence defense, some of the junior varsity members finishing up their own showers, naked, wet, scrubbing themselves down as the steaming hot water flowed over their bodies. Down their chests, backs, and legs, over fur, and scales and feathers, and tempted as I was to take my time and join the view, I didn't want to keep Kamil waiting, not for what he wanted to do. So I found an open shower head and got to it. Letting the water rinse away the sweat and grime and whatever pheromones I'd been putting out. Scrubbing myself down, being quick but thorough about it, especially under my arms and tail, in between my legs. Rinsed off again, then toweling myself dry, fresh and refreshed. Maybe enjoying what occasional glimpses of the other nearby males I could sneak in, then back out of the locker room to get dressed and we could be with Kamil. The downtown area of the city wasn't all that far from the campus, just a 10 or so minute walk down the tree-lined sidewalks until the greenery gave way to storefronts, alleys, and towering high-rises. Kamil and I walked side by side, talking a bit about this or that. Homework that the crocodile would have to get done that evening, the possibility of me getting into town role now that I was officially on the football team. The crocodile congratulating me with a hearty pat on the back. Both of us eventually falling into a companionable silence. So, are you feeling alright? Never better, why? I mean, my eyes wander over the milling crowd that we were making our way through, animals in suits filtering out of what I assume were office buildings. The line of traffic was filled to the road beside us. So you're going to visit your mom, right? Yeah. And you do that whenever somebody's bothering you, right? A quiet snorting huff from the other male. Not every time. Sometimes I just want to go because I want to go. I was just saying, you can talk to me, you know? Only fair after everything you've done for me. I peeked over and up at him as he flipped one of his ears. We were having to wait for the crosswalk, so there wasn't any need to watch where I was going. I could see the hints of tension in his jaw, the way his brow was furrowing, a slight but noticeable flaring of his nostrils. Finally, he sighed and leaned over to knock his shoulder against my own. Yeah, I know. And I am grateful, man. It's just, all the bullshit with the team and everything. I mean, not that I'm a part of it, I can help with anything you need me to. See if we can't work together and get Leon to chill out, He finally let out a chuckle at that, turning his head to meet my gaze. Yeah, maybe we'll see. The smile of his was sparking a bit of heat under the scales across my snout as I knocked my shoulder against his. In return, I looked across the street to check whether the crosswalk sign had turned yet. Huh? Like, why not across the street? Wasn't he one of the security guards at the main campus gate that morning? I racked my brain, peering over the passing cars as that itch of familiarity plagued my mind. Yes, it made sense considering how close the university was. He was probably running errands. Hey, they're good looking. Kamil and I looked over to the puma who moved up next to him, while on the feline's other side, hyena leaned over to give the two of us a small smile and a wave. Couldn't help if I'd ever seen them on campus. They both looked around Kamil's age, maybe a bit older, but it didn't seem like he knew them either. Are you talking to me? Of course. You see any other handsome crocodiles around here? It's just crocodile, like one fish, two fish, Ah, right, my mistake. While he let out a laugh, his companion slung an arm around his shoulders. Sorry about Paul here. He just can't help turning on the charm when someone catches his eye. I'm Hank, by the way, and you? I look from the stammering crocodile The other males would clear my throat before speaking up again. I did need the practice in making new friends. Those two seemed friendly enough. I'm Rex, and this is Kamil. Oh, Kamil, huh? A nice strong name for a strong-looking guy. A few other animals began to push past Hank, and Paul and Hank took a step closer, trying to move out of the flow of foot traffic. Out of reflex, Kamil and I did the same. In along with the proximity came a waft of scent from the other pair. Masculine, sharp and bitter spicy, a little acrid. Just this sight of pungent, sending a bolt of electricity up into my hindbrain. Pheromones. Arousal. I felt a spark of heat across my snout. In between my legs, a hyena glanced over, looked me up and down for a moment, and tipped me a wink. So, are you two together? Yeah. My friend and I are hanging out together, and we're kind of have places to be, so you're hanging out, then surely you've got time for a bite of dinner, right? It was a little early, but we had to spend the majority of the afternoon at practice. Hank and I were on our way to Francisco's, a few blocks down that way. It just opened up, and tables are pretty hard to get, but my dear friend, he happens to know the owner personally. The arm he had wrapped around the hyena's back gave the other male a brief squeeze. Hank nodded, his smile growing broader as he looked from me to Kamil. If you like, I could pull a few strings and get you guys in, too. Maybe all four of us could hang out together. A bold proposition, but I could appreciate the temerity from one predator to another. Besides, food was food, and company was company. Could be an opportunity to get Kamil's mind off of things, too. What do you think, Kamil? When I turned back towards the crocodile, I finally noticed the glare he was giving the two other males, the tight set of his clenched jaw, the restless flicking of his ear. No, thank you. Come on, don't be like that. It really wouldn't be any trouble at all. Yeah, it would be a pleasure to get to know a pair of... For fuck's sake, can you cut that out? We're not interested. I'm not... Look, can you two just leave us alone? Fine. We can take a hint. And you could learn to take a damn compliment. The people turned to stalk off down the sidewalk after a moment of uncomfortable foot shuffling, and after shooting us an apologetic grimace, the hyena followed. Kamil, what was... Come on, the light's about to change. He grabbed my wrist hard enough to make me wince and dragged me out onto the crosswalk. I had to rush to follow him, both to keep the other males from tugging on my arm and to get the other side in time. A few cars still honked at us as we passed regardless. We finally came to a stop halfway down the next block. The crocodile snorted and lashed his tail while I caught my breath. Kamil, seriously, are you okay? I'm fine. When he realized that he was still gripping my arm and he yanked his hand away, I rubbed at his chest while looking back the way we came. What happened back there? It seemed to me like those two just wanted to be nice. Yeah, I know exactly what those two wanted. He took in a deep breath, then let it out in a long, gushy sigh while scrubbing a hand over his face. Listen, Mick, I'm sorry, I just don't do well with, flirting from a low groan of frustration. They started up with that shit about the worst possible time. It just pissed me off. I'm sorry. Hey, listen. They did kind of just walked up to us out of nowhere. If you're not comfortable being flirted with like that, you shouldn't have to put up with it. Maybe don't like punch someone in the mouth over it, but you shouldn't feel bad about telling them off. He pointed out that, continuing to knead the corners of his eyes and the bridge of his snout. Though if they had gotten pussy about it, I could have helped, at least. I mean, two of them. A snort aside, then he finally looked over at me. Yeah, thanks. The crocodile slung an arm around my shoulder to pull me into a brief half hug, then just as quickly let me go and step back. Anyway, let's go. We're burning daylight, and I still gotta run by the store sometime this evening. Yeah, let's go. Along the way, and to help the crocodile feel a little better, I pulled him into an ice cream shop to grab a vegan brownie cone, my treat. That perked him back up and lifted both of our spirits. Before either of us knew it, we were both enjoying the late afternoon walk together once more. Finally, we reached the cemetery. Kamil paused at the gate leading in, looking from the neat row of headstones up to the towers of the nearby masjid. Where his family had worshipped all the years I had known him, where his mom had spent a majority of her time helping out their community, and where she had been buried as she passed away. I shifted from foot to foot, ready to wait outside while he visited. Animals who weren't part of the community weren't allowed in, after all. But after taking another deep breath, Kamil looked over and let out a quiet, apologetic sound. Hey, Rex, thanks for walking with me, but do you mind going on ahead? I think I'd like some time alone, if that's alright. Oh, yeah, sure. No problem at all. I'll see you tomorrow then. Okay. Have a good night, man. You too. I gave him one final wave, then turned to follow my GPS back to the lab complex. After arriving at Dr. Abraham's house, I waited for Kamil's text while grabbing a bite of dinner, while I did some studying and a page or two of homework while I played around on my computer to pass the time. Still waiting even when it was time for lights out. Hello, this is the public bill that adds day 3 to Kamil's route. What's got on the team, but it seems like there's some tension between Liam and Kamil. Kamil decided to visit his mom's grave, but not before hanging out with Rex, well, he rejected 2 horn dogs. So how did you enjoy this day? Music to my ears. Since you enjoyed this game so much, I'd love it if you rate this game on itch.io for us. Just click on the itch.io button in the top right corner and rate the game. Has your opinion of Kamil changed? We'll just have to see what's going on behind that brain of his. Give yourself a pat on the back for making the crocodile satisfied. Keep this up and you'll be sure to have a bright future with him. You can become a patron by clicking on the button above and getting access to Kamil's Day 4 as well as for the higher tiers. Work in progress for the game's art, a guide for the game, and commentary provided by me. This build had a relatively smooth development. The workload for Day 4 wasn't nearly as large as Day 3's development. That said, I wanted to work on some unfinished assets that I wasn't able to touch in recent months. Once again, I had to put it off because I was busy with college. Someday my prince will come and I will be able to actually get to finishing my backlog or finish implemented assets. Let's build. I honestly have no idea what this is going to be like. I know what's going to happen, but I don't know how hard it will be to develop. We'll just have to wait and see. We'll survive somehow. Anyways, I'd like to do a little different call to answer today. I set up a Google Analytics about most of my audience for the United States. There are a bunch of fans from other countries. I'm interested in learning more about my non-US fans, so I'd like to make a request. I provided a message in Chinese above. If you are able to understand this and are able to speak English, please contact me on either itch.io or Discord. Also, if you're Iranian or know Farsi, please contact me as well. I'd like to learn more about the culture and language so that I can put more of those influences into Kamil's character. Anyways, I also want to show you a piece of fan art done by Matthew. Here it is. The context was that it was a big game and the Mammoths were losing 18-23. They did a touchdown, but Weston got the ball and he surrounded. So Dye asked Kamil to trust him, and it obliges leading to the comment you just saw. If you have any fan art you want me to share on this game, please let me know either through itch.io, Discord, or whatever. That is everything. Thank you for sticking with me and have a good day. See you later. So that was the latest update about your hands and Kamil, day 3. So, Wes got on the varsity football team, which is a big improvement for him. And Liam is acting kind of funny, especially that comment he gave Rex where he said he basically called him mediocre. I don't know if he called him mediocre now, but basically that's what he called him. Like, if you can't make it to the varsity football team, there's nothing wrong with mediocrity. When we first met Liam back in the cafeteria, he seemed like a calm person, and maybe he was really a calm person, but now that Tucker's dead, he thinks that to live up to Tucker's standard of being a great captain is to be like Tucker. So he thinks by being kind of a jerk himself, he's honoring Tucker's legacy. And Liam seems to be giving Kamil some issues. It's probably something new now. I don't think he was giving Kamil any issues before he became captain, while Tucker was captain, but now that he's captain himself, he's been giving he's been giving Kamil some issues, and it seems like in Leon's mind, he thinks that being a difficult person himself would be honoring Tucker's legacy, and I'm starting to dislike Liam more now. It seems like he just wants, you see that now that Tucker's dead and that he's the captain himself now, he wants to take Tucker's place as the top jerk. And if he's going to continue being that, then it seems that the culture of the football team is going to continue. This toxic culture that Tucker supported and led over. So it seems like I think that's one of the issues Kamil's having with Kamil. With Liam. That's one of the issues Kamil's having, like Liam. But I think there's something else he has an issue with too, because he didn't seem all that good while he and Wes were going to the cemetery to visit his dead mother. So Wes was not allowed in there. Only members of Kamil's community were allowed in there. So I think the community is the Persian, Farsi, or Iranian community, or maybe it's Muslims, but I think it's like solely the Persian community there. speak Farsi, and only they are allowed in there. Yeah, so, and his mother went to a masjid, which is a Muslim place of worship, I believe. So obviously, Kamil is Muslim. So I'm a little familiar with Iran, that country of the Middle East, in their culture and the fact that despite them being Muslim, like the Arabs, there are some differences between them and the Arabs in the language and the customs and all that. And the young population there as well, their population is very young. I think the average age of a person there is 35 years or younger. Maybe it's their 20s, I think. I don't know. About the two guys that they went into downtown, I don't think they had any malice. I think they were kind of nice, but they were very forward, and that's what really got Kamil uncomfortable. That the forward, them being very forward and bold. So that's what made Kamil that's what made Kamil react in the way he did. The forwardness they had, especially the hyena. So this update was a little bit longer than usual. Usually these updates are kind of like around about 35 to 50 minutes, but this one's a little long. So we'll continue with day 4 next time for Kamil. Thank y'all very much for watching. Bye.